get away from formats. The opportunity with gaming is not in formats. It's in doing custom, interesting, bizarre things that only the gaming world can allow you to do.
Yeah, run it up.
Welcome back to Brands in Play, your podcast for all things immersive marketing. I'm Nic Hill from Sawhorse, and joining me as our temporary co-host is my friend and colleague, Matt Daly. Matt is an award-winning immersive product, production, and partnership leader who's currently managing partnerships at SciPlay. He's a longtime South by Southwest advisor and has worked across gaming, XR, and emerging technologies with brands including Formula One, Square Enix, and Discord. He's a great fit for the show. Matt, welcome to Brands in Play.
It is an honor to be here, dude. First time co-host, long time listener.
I love
I've been listening for a long time. It's super weird to be on this side of the mic, but I'll do my best to fill the shoes of the pantheon of greats that you've had sitting in this seat. I'll dig into my college radio roots to try to turn on the charm.
Let's hear that golden voice. I know you're going to get a lot of insights for our listeners. I appreciate that. I think you're definitely the right fit for the show right now. And so for this week, Matt, what are we covering in the news?
Rockstar gives Netflix a 6-hour exclusive on GTA 6. Payday hits Fortnite and Hollywood in the same week. Focus Features turns a movie campaign into a playable Discord game. And KFC pulls 70 million Roblox visits without ever building a game.
And then later, we're joined by David Sheldon-Hicks, who's the CEO and co-founder of Territory Studios. And if you're not familiar with Territory, they're an independent creative studio that have helped shape the visual worlds for some of the biggest films and games out there. In our conversation, we discuss the studio's custom cutscene work across AAA gaming and how brands can play in that space without breaking immersion of gameplay.
So for all of our listeners, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Every week, we break down how brands, platforms, and creators are showing up across gaming, entertainment, and immersive media.
Let's get into it.
Let's go.
Yeah, run it up.
Matt, we've been friends for a while now, and I've seen you at so many events, and I knew one day I wanted to have you on the show, and I didn't realize you'd be co-hosting, but we finally made it happen. I'm excited to have you here, man.
I'm extremely thrilled to be here, Nick. It feels like just yesterday, even though it was a few months ago, that we were sitting inside of a chandelier in Las Vegas talking about doing something like this. So here we are now.
I remember, yes. That was my first meeting when was that CES?
CES, yeah.
Earlier 2 years ago, I think.
I think it was this year, but it
It's
all kind of
blur
gets
in my world,
blurred
man.
together.
It's a blur. What's going on in your world this week?
Well, besides trying to evade the Austin hellish heat, we are officially in South by Southwest panel picker mode. That means that as a South by Southwest advisor, I am tasked to look through droves and droves of mostly brilliant submissions to the festival, which for anyone that doesn't know is a massive media, gaming, technology, and film festival that happens in Austin every year in a deceptively
One of my
wonderful...
favorite. I've said it on the show so many times, but like if you work in this space and you haven't been to South by, you're missing out.
It's incredible. It's like a geek Coachella. So, and as far as what is happening with South by, specifically material to what we're talking about here, XR project submissions are open. So projects just need to have been completed in 2025 or 2026 or be on track to be completed by early next year in 2027. So every year, the lineup gets tighter and sharper, competition gets more fierce, but get those submissions in. The cheapest time to do it is going to be before August 25th, which is coming up. So just keep that in mind if you have an XR project that you want to get in for South by in March.
And is that like an award type of situation, or is it more like a showcase situation, or what is it?
That's if you want to showcase your XR piece at South by Southwest.
Cool. Okay.
And then every XR piece that is exhibited or shown is up for, any variety of awards that happen during the show. But that's what's been going on in my world. How about you, Nick?
For me, I'm super excited and proud and humbled to announce that Sawhorse, the company that I co-founded, has made the Inc. 5000 list for 2 years in a row. This is our second year. And if you're not familiar with Inc. 5000 magazine, they do this annual ranking of the fastest growing private companies in the United States. And it's a real honor and really proves that like our company continues to grow. It's cool because our ranking last year was 3,809, and this year we are 2,947. So we're slowly, taking those steps. It's just proof of consistent growth. It's all you want as a small business owner. Just keep growing.
The hits keep on coming, man. That's incredible. You should frame that crazy, award thing that you have behind you and just like say there are 10 times as many of these that are just not in frame because the
Oh,
frame cannot capture the brilliance of Sawhorse.
well, that is very, very kind of you to say. It's, all thanks to the amazing team that we have cranking out hits over here. But the bar keeps getting higher. We just got to keep doing our best to make good work.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, man. I love it. Okay, let's go to the news.
Let's go. Lots happening in the news this week. Cool stuff to talk about. I'm sure you've heard about this and everyone else on the internet has heard about this. GTA 6 gives Netflix an exclusive first look. So Rockstar's extended look at GTA 6 will premiere on Netflix on August 27th, 6 hours before appearing on YouTube and Rockstar's website. It's cool because it turns a game trailer into a streaming premiere and makes Netflix part of the launch strategy that Rockstar is doing. This was super unique. When I saw this, I was like, wow, this is the film world and the gaming world converging in a marketing sort of promotional moment. And I hadn't seen something like this before. I don't think I've ever seen like a video game being eventized and sort of promoted and celebrated inside of mainstream video media before it's gone into like the gaming launch. So I don't know. What were your thoughts about this, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super fascinating. To me, it feels like we're coming back to the time when there were big sort of tentpole releases when monoculture was a thing, and you'd
Yeah.
show up at the Sam Goody for your, new album, or you'd wait in line at the GameStop for like a physical release. I I think what it seems to me is that like Rockstar is seeing the sort of backlash to not releasing a physical SKU and are trying to do something that feels as sort of tangible and ephemeral as it can, or at least event-based as it can be. I'm really curious to see how long the sort of backlash that's kind of running around the internet actually lasts in people's memories, because people are like a little bit sore about the price of the premium edition of GTA 6, where there's a sort of like early adopter category of players, and then there's kind of everybody else. Because the early adopter category of players, those who paid $100, are going to be able to play the game sooner than the rest of the players. And similarly, the people who are subscribed to Netflix are going to be able to see this, although that's probably quite a lot of the population, at least in the United States, whereas a lot of the rest of the people will not be able to. So it's kind of interesting to see that Rockstar is kind of doubling down on this strategy of
Exclusivity.
kind of exclusivity,
Yeah.
making it sort of like a big tentpole moment. But it does feel like a very sort of it feels like we're all coming together for something, which is very GTA 6, and I kind of love it.
And I'm curious to get your take as well. Like, there's no physical disc for this launch, right? Like, the Rockstar has said this is just digital download. Do you think that matters in today's climate? I mean, I'm old school. Like, I'm a vinyl collector. So, like, if I'm gonna spend my money on some media, like, I want to feel it in my hands. And if it has a poster or some crazy shit on it, it's even better. But now, I mean, we're living in this digital world. I think a lot of younger people have grown up and not expecting to have a tangible thing. But I know there's
Yeah.
been some controversy, and I also didn't I hear that like PlayStation has announced that it's no longer making any discs at all. Do you think this even
Yep.
matters?
PlayStation has officially come to the parapets of the Sony castle and gone, "Brr, brr, brr, brr. The physical media era is over." And I don't think that they're completely wrong, in the sense that the economics of shipping physical SKUs probably doesn't match with audience expectations at any kind of real scale now. But I think that there will always be a place for physical media. I don't think that, you know, I don't think PlayStation is going to turn tail on this, regardless of the sort of vocal, probably minority that really says that they care about this. But then it's a difference also between what people say they care about and where they put their money.
Yeah.
And if PlayStation, if Sony sees that there's a resurgence in physical media or something akin to like the off market like Game Boy Color sort of stuff or anything physical, I think just like this beautiful experiment, I think that they're going to lean into that.
All right, let's move on. Tell us about Payday.
Okay, so this one is like super interesting. It sent me like down a little bit of a rabbit hole. So Starbreeze launched a native Payday roguelike experience inside Fortnite, built by Ocean Wave Games using UEFN. The company also announced that 50 Cent and G-Unit Film and Television will executive produce a screen adaptation with Vice Studios. This is sort of a brand salad happening here. We have Payday, we have Fortnite, we have 50 Cent, and we have Vice. Okay, so like not on my big go card together, but it's kind of interesting when you unpack it a little bit. So Payday is a legacy game IP from the developer and publisher Starbreeze. Payday 2 came out in 2013, so it's a over 10-year-old game, but it's a never dying game franchise. You go to Steam and look at the amount of DLCs that have come out for Payday 2. Do you want to guess how many DLCs there are for Payday 2?
Tell us.
There are over 65 DLCs that have been released for this game.
Damn. For Payday 2.
Yes, Payday 2, which is really the inflection point for the Payday series and really made Starbreeze a household name. Starbreeze also made Chronicles of Riddick: Escape from Butcher's Bay, which for an Xbox kid back in the day was an incredible game changer.
It was a dope
film
game.
adaptation, amazing game, right? Did you play that?
Yes.
Payday 2, which was released in 2013, that went with a subscription model in Q4 of 2025. That quarter, Payday 2 2013 generated 85% more revenue than Payday 3 2023 that came out 10 years later.
Wow.
As a result of their sort of never-ending hammering of micro-content DLCs and extending the universe. So when I sort of unpack that, because my first reaction was like, oh, Payday, that's like an old game, right? Is that this looks to me like a studio who is a super veteran studio in eking out continued value out of a single IP. And even when the new release that was meant to be sort of a big inflection point for them didn't really hit, they are still continuing to innovate by saying, well, how do we take this legacy IP and make it appeal to maybe a younger audience in a low-risk way? And it seems like UEFN and then making this transmedia piece with 50 Cent's production crew seems like a kind of like a winning strategy. I mean, what do you think? You have so much film background here too.
I mean, it's an IP that people know and are excited about. Like you said, Payday 2 has been around for a long time. It's got a massive following. So it makes sense for them to adapt that into Fortnite, UEFN. And definitely Fortnite seems like the right choice from a UGC gaming standpoint, just because it is sort of, there's so much gunplay and sort of violent sort of game design on that platform. Huge smart move there. Curious to see how it performs. Yeah, the 50 Cent angle is like out of left field for me. Like, I think it's great. I mean, you've got cool IP, cool storytelling. It should lend itself well to some, visual medium in film or TV, whatever they or streaming, whatever they plan to do with it.
So yeah, that's that was what was interesting to me about this Payday thing. How about you, Nick? I think you were looking at a movie campaign in Discord.
They've been doing all of these new marketing activations inside of Discord itself as a marketing channel. And so a massive movie just got promoted through Discord. Warner Brothers launched a Discord mission quest for the new movie, The End of Oak Street. And essentially, it's like an endless runner. Like players run through the film's dinosaur-infested suburban worlds. They complete challenges and experience the premiere before seeing the movie. It seems pretty cool. It's a very simple game. I don't know. Did you see this at all? Did you see anything about this?
Yeah, dude, I played it.
Yeah, what did you think?
Of all the things we're talking about today, the thing I love about this was that I was able to, while at the trampoline park with my 5-year-old son, play this game for like 30 seconds and grok everything that was happening. Yeah,
Simple gameplay.
That is a super win. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's so great about this. Like these are low lift games. If I look at these as like playable ads, you don't take Final Fantasy and make that into a playable ad with a brand. Like that is just too deep and complicated and confusing. But you can take an endless runner and you can immediately like kind of adapt that to a film, and make that understandable. And like you said, you only played it for a few minutes and you understood exactly what it was. And hopefully it's fun enough to make you want to play it again. I don't know. Did you get that sense of replayability, or did it work did it work just as that one-time viewing?
Certainly as like an incentive for me to earn orbs, if orbs were like a value to me as they would be
The
for a more
currency on
hardcore.
Discord, yeah.
Right. If it was something that was highly valuable to me, I would enjoy that way more if I'm comparing it to like a programmatic ad unit, even like a interactive banner. I would enjoy that way more and get way more satisfaction out of that. So I think it's a super smart move.
Yeah. And I think that it's a really smart the way they chose to do an endless runner for this film IP, because essentially that's what's happening. The movie is an endless runner, right? Like these people are like
Right.
running away from these dinosaurs, which is insane. I haven't seen the trailer for this movie. Is this like science fiction or like what? Why are the dinosaurs there?
I think that's for us to find out when we buy tickets, Nick.
That's
I
why you
think
have to go see it in theaters. You heard it here
y-
first.
exactly. They should be paying us a commission.
I'm really curious about this next story. KFC. Tell us what they didn't make any games, but they got a lot of exposure. What does that?
Yeah,
What does this even mean?
just lots of chicken, finger licking good.
Which are you a KFC fan? I feel like
I like
it's hit or miss.
I like KFC. I feel like I've eaten more KFC in the last 15 years abroad, particularly in Asia, than here. But
That's funny you said that because I got KFC while I was in Tokyo.
yeah,
Not because I normally eat KFC. I was just like, this is
yeah,
too weird. I have to jump in. And I got to say, the Colonel came correct for me.
the Colonel came correct.
Yes, sir.
Did they give you nice gloves?
Yeah, but then the gloves are nicer in Tokyo than the US.
Yes, everything is nicer in Tokyo. Let's just establish that.
Fair enough.
But what KFC has been up to in games has been just seeing an ocean of 70 million Roblox visits without ever making an official game inside of Roblox. So Geek, the data platform, has a new tool that they've rolled out called Brand Check that helps brands assess their current stage of impact across games. And they use that tool to deduce that there were 70 million visits to Roblox, even though KFC has not launched an official experience there. That's from a GamesBeat report from our friend Alexander Lee. For me, it's like super interesting, more than just the number, just this sort of like continued evidence that the name of the game, pun intended, right now is for brands to meet their users where they are.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean making a tentpole world experience game, whatever it is. In some cases, if you're a household, ubiquitous name like a KFC, which doesn't, by the way, apply to many brands, not just in QSR, but across categories.
True.
If you're a super household name, your brand is kind of no longer yours. And it's up to you to determine whether you're going to lean into that energy and transduce it into something that's like in keeping with your goals as a brand, or maybe fight against it. I think this is awesome because KFC and some of the other brands that they talk about in the article, have leaned into it. But I think you've seen a lot of this too in your work with Sawhorse, right, Nick?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's so cool about this is, just to clarify, it's like normally KFC would go into Roblox and make their own game and then have to like, sell it to the audience there and grow it, and that's how they get this engagement. None of this is sanctioned by KFC. This is all fan made, and we see a reflection of this like in social media as well, right? Like someone can make a weird video about KFC and people wearing KFC hats and making some crazy thing that is totally non-sanctioned by the brand itself. But to your point, Matt, it's like, what do you do as a brand? Do you lean into that? Do you fight against it? Do you just stay quiet? Because you don't want to endorse it. I think that we're living in a UGC era where the most successful brands are the ones that know how to deal with these conversations and turn it into a positive to promote that brand, to get more mileage and engagement and grow that fandom. And I feel like this is a great example of KFC finding success here. I'm very curious about what did they do once they discovered this information? What is their plan now? Are they going to double down and have more of an impact across UGC, or are they going to just let it be and kind of benefit from the engagement that other people have brought to them?
Do you think that they'll pull kind of like a Disney, like you talked about in one of your last shows, where Disney opened up some of the assets to their IP on TikTok or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's very dangerous from a brand safe standpoint, which from my experience working with all these amazing brands, oftentimes, when you open things up to UGC, you want to be a little bit cautious about how much control you give, because
Mm-hmm.
you can really shoot yourself in the foot. You definitely need a really strong, smart strategy if you're going to create an official asset and ask people to do things with it. You
Mm-hmm.
want some guardrails in place. So I actually have no idea about the broader KFC brand strategy, so I can't really speak to what their next moves would be. It's a time to explore and test. We're in like the UGC era, which is pretty dope. All right, well, let's move on to our interview this week. We're joined by David Sheldon-Hicks, who's the CEO and co-founder of Territory Studio. Territory has created visual content across film, gaming, and branded entertainment for more than 16 years, with credits spanning across Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, Need for Speed, and most recently, 007 First Light. They made the opening title sequence, which is a work of art. You have to see it. And so David and I crack into the power of the cutscene, why they work, how they get made, and how to actually make a great one that will benefit the audience and not be intrusive. So let's go to the interview. David, welcome to Brands in Play.
Nick, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be chatting to you today.
Yeah, absolutely. Give us some background on what the studio is, what you guys have worked on, and what sort of brand work you've done in the past.
We've been going 16 years, and our first ever client, in fact, was Electronic Arts in LA. We worked with them on Medal of Honor, if you remember that title, first
Oh,
person
yeah.
shooter. And we worked on the first 90-second opening cutscene, which set the scene for the game. So, I mean, I've always been a gamer and into just the whole medium and format. I just love the design and the graphics more than anything. I'm drawn to visual stuff. And I think as soon as you kind of immerse yourself in those worlds, when you watch a film, you can watch the story and see the world, and you only go so far with it. But with gaming, you just go that much further. So I've always been fascinated by it as a medium, and just thought that there is space for a studio, a graphic design studio, an animation studio that can be a partner to games developers and publishers to bring kind of a care for the craft of storytelling and design, really. So we work across lots of different things. So sometimes we work with feature film directors and producers on their shows. Sometimes we're working with brands. And quite often we're always working on computer game projects, and that can be cinematics, it can be trailers, it can be the user interface in the games, it can be in the marketing assets, it can be cross media. We've worked with Nike on kind of gaming activations and things like that, and various different kind of brand partnerships. So we just love the really kind of weird, unusual fringe case studies that mean that we can push ourselves and just execute in interesting ways. So we've got a London office, which is where we kind of were founded, and then we've got San Francisco, we've got our team in LA, Vancouver, and Barcelona. So we've got nice diversity across the group, and we continue to work with gaming studios and brands on various different projects that kind of leverage CGI animation, motion graphics design, all that kind of stuff. We've just worked on some incredible titles like Call of Duty and Need for
007.
Speed and 007 First Light, and and what's really interesting now, I mean, a lot of people have talked about this, but this just idea of the film and games thing converging. You're seeing film IP successfully come into games and not feel like a watered down version of, and then equally going in the other direction, you're seeing gaming IP going into the film and the TV world and doing incredibly well. And it's nice to kind of see both sides of that equation kind of deliver on the promise that we all thought that it should be successful, and now it's kind of getting there, and some really interesting results coming from that. And I think everybody thinks that those worlds should automatically just converge and be good side-by-side friends, but actually they're completely different creative skill sets, and require
And different mediums and
yeah,
different audiences, how they're consuming and what their expectations are completely different.
yeah, completely. So, and then how brands kind of play into that is very different too. And there's lots of different ways that that can play out. Territory has, I would say, been uh, tagged as a film studio, but actually we've been working with computer games for far longer. And we've been in the gaming space for a number of years longer than we have been in the film industry.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because, you have such a background in traditional film and storytelling. When you create a cutscene inside of a game, how is that different than creating, a short film or just a video content in general? What's different when it lands inside a game?
Well, for us, on a personal level, it's creative authorship. So on a film, we're not the film director. We are in service of the film director, and they're amazing people to work with. Don't get me wrong. So Denis Villeneuve or Ridley Scott, they are incredible collaborators to work alongside, but we're helping them fulfill their vision. Now, with a game, there's a little bit more space there because they're interested to hear our ideas in terms of narrative, and they're also very much interested in us directing particular sequences. So we can take the kind of the game itself as a springboard for directing some of those narrative moments. Now, the game studios have a very strong idea on what that story needs to be. Of course, it's not going to be that we're going to be leading that and then they're responding to it. They've already got script and narrative arc in place, but just an extra level of us, our interpretation and our direction on top of that. There's more space for that, and so I mean, Activision partnerships definitely play into that. They're very happy for us to be very kind of design led and expressive with the motion work that we do, and not too literal. They wouldn't force upon us a photoreal CG cinematic. It could be quite stylized, and they're open to that. Whereas I think when you're working in film, people have certain expectations when they go to a movie. If it's a Christopher Nolan film, you kind of know the kind of visual vernacular that you're kind of expecting from that. And so in some ways I'd say games are liberating in ways that you wouldn't see in film, and so it's why we're constantly drawn to partnering on those games projects.
Let's talk a little bit about this concept of gamers wanting to skip cutscenes. That's sort of like a known thing in the space.
Yeah.
Although when there's a great cutscene or it's used strategically, it's something that really adds value to the player. So I'm curious, like, in your opinion, how do you make a successful cutscene that people don't want to skip?
So I mean, that is the brutal challenge, right? And it's kind of the gauntlet laid down to the team every time that we do something like this. I mean, firstly, I would say that having information in those cutscenes that genuinely is critical to the gameplay.
Or helps
So
drive the story,
yeah, I
right?
mean, if it's a mission briefing and you skip it, you're kind of
You don't know what you're doing.
you're going to start guessing as to how you're getting into it. I mean, I'm one of those people that reads the manual before I start building the self-pack furniture, right? And I feel like you're skipping part of the experience if you do skip that. So I think one part is on the script writers and the narrative designers to put key moments in there that really enrich the entire gaming experience. So when you're playing that game, you have an appreciation for the characters and the motivation and everything that's going on there. So that's one part of it. The other part is to make the craft of those moments so jaw-dropping. It's not filler. If we come at it thinking we don't think of it as a load level. We don't think of it as a mask for, a load progress bar at its poorest. And we have the same challenge with film titles these days, because on streaming platforms you can skip the title sequence. So there is that same challenge of how do we earn the right to gain people's attention, and some of that is kind of elevating those moments to almost an art form, if you
Mhm.
can. You mentioned the first light work that we did with IO Interactive. That was the title sequence, and there was no, it's a title sequence for a game. It's like, no, this is this has to be stunning. And we were treating it as a studio, like this was our first Bond title sequence. We weren't thinking in any other means.
Right.
It was, what an incredible opportunity. We need to give this everything. And obviously being a British studio and knowing that you're kind of holding on to the crown jewels of
No
like,
pressure. No
yeah,
pressure.
like, do not mess this up. So we knew that we wanted to do it justice. We knew that IO Interactive had huge ambitions and were very creative and collaborative on it. And so it was finding, I mean, let's be honest, the soundtrack was utterly incredible. So you've got this sound bed that's driving things forward in a really powerful way. And just immediately, as soon as you hear that soundtrack by Lana Del Rey, you're like, this is a James Bond theme tune, right? So that was a gift immediately. That sets the pace. It gives us our narrative arc. We know when things are peaking and leveling out. So we had that as a basis. And then it's about grabbing people in the first 10 seconds, which the transition from what was going on in the game in terms of that explosion and then into the cut to the island just had that kind of, and that was genius on our team's part and IO Interactive's part around how that kind of blends together. And then once you've earned that attention, then you're doing all these really clever transitions to reward the attention that is playing out
And to keep them engaged.
Yeah, and there was so many. I mean, I don't normally follow social media, especially our work on social media. It's like an unhealthy thing to do, but it was amazing to see people posting about the fact that this is a title sequence that we won't be skipping, type thing, and that is okay. We've fulfilled our brief, like as fans of so many James Bond games actually, and then of IO Interactive's work as well. And then just overall of the Bond franchise, you want to do it justice. Like as fans, you care, and sometimes that can trip you up. If you care too much and you don't give it enough creative distance, you can maybe get in your own way. So you have to be careful around that. But I thought the team did a great job. So yeah, amazing project to be a part of, but a really good example of what we're talking about.
It's a beautiful piece. Let's talk a little bit about brands and how brands get involved. I'm curious to get your point of view. What is the value of a brand taking a product or an IP into a cutscene versus inside of a game, inside of just putting their IP inside of a game?
That's interesting. So I personally don't have an issue with it if it's done in the right way. All the characters in the game wear clothes. There's and let's be honest.
And drive
Bond
cars?
Yeah, they drive cars, they wear clothes. But if it feels gratuitous, like they're putting a soda can down on the front of the table, then you kind of, the wonderful thing that I think that's happening at the moment, both in the game, in entertainment more generally, is I think creators have kind of hit a fine balance between kind of being commercial, but also having real respect for the audience. And I think once you've got that respect and you know who your audience are, you know how to, you don't want to be condescending in any way. So the way that you do things, you have to be really super smart and assume that you're not playing to the lowest common denominator. You need to raise the bar up that much further because your audience feels it. So for me, if I'm dealing with Forza or something, there are natural brand interplays. So you just need to pick out the right ones. It's not about should brands be in there. I think absolutely they naturally can be, but it's just being selective. And Bond has done that so well, like Aston Martin and the watches and everything else. And there are natural affiliations. We did a lot of work with Nike and FC, and it just makes so much sense. They're naturally connected. Energy drinks, there's so many different ways that you can do it. And what I love is that there's so many different genres of gaming. There's really no excuse for a brand not to be involved in some way, in some meaningful way with gaming audiences, but maybe just don't go for all the obvious ones.
Yeah, it's just got to be authentic.
I just think that people need to like push their experience of the gaming space out that much further, because they go to the obvious, always on titles. And I'm not sure it's just a little bit lazy, and I think you can be a lot smarter with it.
Yes, but as long as it's relevant to the story and it's authentic to the player experience, and it's not like it's not in your face and overt, kind of like you were saying with the Coke can, putting it right in front of the screen. There's so many ways to weave brands in and IP in a way that is additive to the gamer's experience that
Yeah,
has a
yeah.
great effect.
And I would say to brands, get closer to the developers, like really understand what they're doing,
And understand
because
the games themselves.
yeah, because there will be opportunities outside of the obvious where you can, Balenciaga doing their kind of virtual gaming world was a great example of how to completely take it off kilter and move it into a different space. Like, think outside of formats, get away from formats. The opportunity with gaming is not in formats. It's in doing custom, interesting, bizarre things that only the gaming world can allow you to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big opportunity around that.
Yeah, I also think I always tell brands, have fun with it. It's supposed to be fun. This is gaming. Be creative. And you have an opportunity, to your point, to do what you can't do on other mediums.
Completely. I think sometimes people are so distant from gaming they don't understand their way in. But just spend time with a developer and a publisher, and like things will just start to explode out.
Yeah.
Like the communities alone around Discord, just phenomenal opportunity.
You guys have worked with a lot of cutscenes that have involved brands. I'm curious, like, what is that process like? Are you speaking directly with the brands? Are the brands kind of fighting with the director to figure out how to properly get the product in and what the expectation is? What's been your process like?
Well, we don't say fighting, we say creative tension.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think most brands that we've worked with, I mean, so many of them now have got gaming divisions, like specialist teams that understand this. They're at Gamescom. They're at all the gaming events. I think, they're almost they'd rather be in the games world than they would be in the brand world, and they're kind of wrestling the brand into it. So my experience has been the teams that we've worked with, at least, have been super savvy and are way ahead of me in some respects, like, looking at partnerships with Epic or Roblox, and they're very switched on. And when we're being brought into the mix, and maybe this is more to do with how we operate as a studio, because we're a kind of creative craft production partner, what we're doing is going, that's an amazing idea. This is how we bring it to life. This is how we make it. So we're very much solving for, how does this not feel like a diluted response to a great idea? So what we want to do, we don't want it to feel like a tag on. It's like, no, we know how to deliver this, and you'll never know that it's not, an official part of the game, or however that's interconnecting in. Yeah, I think as long as you've got knowledgeable people around the table that are coming at it from a, how do we authentically get the brand in, it goes pretty smoothly. I think the thing to keep an eye on is scope creep, because people get so excited. They're like, they want to throw everything at it, the kitchen sink, and gamers don't always appreciate. They can feel it. They feel it when it's kind of going over the top and not in keeping with the rest of the gaming experience. So,
And the
I mean,
brands might need a reminder, this is not a commercial. This is a story piece. So how
yeah,
are we integrating you properly so you're not taking over the message of the scene, right?
yeah, yeah. Gamers are very critical. I've
This is
learned the
true.
hard way. There's been moments where, um, in a previous life before Territory, I've worked on stuff where maybe there was a spelling mistake in something, and it was, like a split second it went through. It was blurry. You shouldn't have been able to see it, and there are forums and groups discussing that spelling mistake.
You're getting death
Uh,
threats.
yeah, yeah. So you need to give it the attention, and you need to be aware that people care about these things. They're spending a large portion of their lives in these worlds, and if you get it as a brand right, the rewards are phenomenal. They will love you for it. If you turn up in that gaming space in the right way, there is no limit to the good feeling that you will get from a massive crowd. It's like, it's like nothing else. and true fandom. You know, that synergy is not it's not off the table. It's not, but it and we talk about this a lot more broadly when we talk about brands and culture. That this is really the big piece of it all is brands are part of our culture. They just are, and knowing how to turn up and do it in the right ways. And it's not necessarily, might not even be product placement. It could be audio. You know, it could be a voice. It doesn't matter, but it's thinking cleverly around those associations and how broad your brand is, and then thinking about how it turns up in meaningful ways. And that should be like key workshops, key co-creative sessions with all the right people around the table to just properly thrash it out.
And that really is the fun, and that is the new opportunity that's emerging. As you were saying, as film and gaming are merging, and advertising itself is becoming more immersive, more subversive, more creator-driven. You know,
Yeah.
these are opportunities for brands to create storytelling and engage with audiences that no longer feel like a commercial. Let's transition a little over to GTA 6, because we know this is going to be a massive moment. Well, first off, are you working with them on anything right now?
No.
Okay.
And I suspect if we were, we wouldn't be able to say yes either.
Exactly, NDAs. But it's going to be a huge cultural moment later on this year, coming soon. Traditionally, they've been no actual brand integrations. All of the brands inside of that game world are fake brands. I'm curious to get your take on whether you think, because there's so many rumors about GTA 6 having like a UGC open sort of platform concept, do you feel like brands are going to find a way into that?
I think it would be hard for them to do it. So if we think about GTA and where they've come from, you know, if I take the radio stations as an example, it's become such an intrinsic part and expectation of the audience that they will be their own versions. And there's a part of the Rockstar brand that says we have literally touched every single element here and curated every single element. It's like the Avatar film in Pandora, and like every single plant is designed, every single vehicle. It says so much about the craft of that team to deliver. And like the maps look freaking crazy. I mean, you know, and that just creates an amount of respect and wonder and awe in the audience that's coming to it, that I think if you start inserting outside of that world element, I think it becomes really tricky. But the reason I paused at the beginning of your question was that I think that if a famous band did a parody of an artist that played on that radio station, people would love that. So I don't know if it was like a big American country artist that suddenly did a version of a song that would feature in a Rockstar game on that radio station, that would be kind of interesting. But
Right.
I don't know. I would be interested to see if Coca-Cola did their own version of an in-game brand. It doesn't say Coca-Cola. It says, I don't know, Spritz or something, whatever it says. But we all know that there's been a collaboration where they've partnered up to create something that's fun, but it feels like it's curated to that space. That would be acceptable.
Right.
Because they've bent their brand to be a part of the GTA universe. I think that would be okay. But you have to understand the broader context of the audience that has been following this game now for 20 years?
Yeah.
Is it that long now?
And to your
So,
point, gamers
yeah.
don't like issues. They don't like errors. Like if you show up in a way they're not anticipating, that doesn't add value to them, you're going to get that backlash.
Yeah, I think GTA is a very extreme example to kind of ask this question around, because the whole point is it's just phenomenal how far they've taken the world building and how sandbox level it is. Red Dead Redemption as well, kind of just being a great example. I think there would be ways. I think there are ways, but I think it has to be with other very creative brands, really creative brands that
Thinking
are kind of
outside the
taking
box.
and taking the piss out of themselves, like
Yeah.
knowingly almost removing their brand from how they're turning up.
Right. But it can be done. And I think that clever minds can't achieve it
Can be done. We weren't asked, but yeah, it can be done.
yet. Well,
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for joining us on Brands in Play. Really appreciate your insights. Huge fans of Territory and the work that you guys are doing. So really excited to see what you guys continue, what impact you'll make in the space.
I created 3 keys hidden in a dark room that's at the center of a maze that's located somewhere. Let the hunt for Halliday's Easter egg begin.
All right, so that is a wrap for this week of Brands in Play. Thank you for listening, and a huge thanks to David for joining us. And Matt, thanks to you as well. I'm stoked to have you in the chair with me for a few weeks.
Stoked as well, my friend. So if you enjoyed the conversation, subscribe to Brands in Play for more interviews with the people shaping gaming and immersive entertainment.
Edward, please read us out.
And that was Brands in Play. Thank you for joining the podcast where we explore immersive marketing and the people who are leading it. Our show today was produced and edited by myself, Edward Regiu. Be sure to join us every week for brand new episodes.
The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of host employers. The information shared during this podcast is based on personal experience and publicly available information and is intended for informational purposes only. Any references to specific platforms, companies, or partnerships are made in a personal capacity and do not imply endorsement, partnership, or official association with any organization mentioned.